Welcome to ViviTalks. I'm Vivienne Aerts. Join me in celebrating 100 talented female musicians from my last album, Type of Thing. Empowering female cacao farmers in Congo's Virunga State Park and restoring the rainforest. Delve into the musical journeys, creative processes, and unique perspectives of these talented women that were involved in the making of this album. Today I'm talking to Sara Caswell, Grammy nominated violinist, educator, and composer. Listen to our conversation as we talk about how moving to New York City as a young girl still inspires her, how she captures melodies for new songs, and playing with amazing projects like Esperanza Spalding. And we talk about her hobby, Sunday stress baking.
So welcome to my official podcast. I'm so excited to have you, Sara. And I believe we met at Berklee, or maybe we met through Nadia Nordhaus, no?
Yeah, I think it might have been through Nadia.
Was it her birthday?
I think so.
Oh, it was her birthday. What was it? It was in a snack bar. What was it? She went to...
It was. I know it was something focused around Nadia. It might have been at one of the gatherings we might have had at Lois's apartment, our good friend Lois Martin, or it might have
that's
been,
true. That's possible too.
At a bar. But Nadia always has these wonderful birthday gatherings. Like it's not
yes.
So like a week of celebration and gathering with friends, and so I feel like it might have been one of those experiences where we met. So
yeah. Great. And you play a role in my new album, so I want to hear all about you, where you're from, and what do you do, and what are you excited about?
Oh my goodness! Well, it's such a it's always a joy talking with you, and certainly it was such a thrill to be part of your amazing project. It's such a beautiful collection of songs, and I've so enjoyed listening to it and experiencing the music. So my background, I was born in Bloomington, Indiana. So it's a small Midwestern town, but there's a fantastic university that's there, Indiana University. My father was a musicology professor there. So I was born and raised in that town, Bloomington, and it's got what's wonderful about that school. I mean, there are many great departments that are world renowned, but the music school is maybe one of the most well known. It always ranks with Juilliard and Curtis and places like that. So to have grown up surrounded by that level of music was a dream.
Yeah.
My mom has a musicology degree as well, so there was constantly music playing in our house. I think we rarely had the TV on. It was always just listening to records from all generations.
You had a family band.
Almost, yeah. We listened to everything from Gregorian chant to, Miles Davis' Bitches Brew. I mean, it would be, the full ramp.
Wow.
So when I was around 5 years old, my parents decided that might be a good age for both my sister and I to start taking lessons. My sister's about 3 years older than me. So taking musical lessons. And there's a great pre-college string program at IU. And my mom was actually teaching one of the students who was helping run that program. And so that student convinced my mom to put a violin in my hand. And I remember exactly that afternoon when we went to go pick up the rental fiddle. So like these, I don't know if you've seen them, I'm sure you have, like they're the rental violins.
The kids one.
Oh, it looks like a little Christmas tree ornament. I mean, they're so small, like a 16th size fiddle. They're just super tiny, they're little, cardboard box or toy. But I remember the dress I was wearing. I remember the side of the car that I was sitting on, driving to the shop. I remember picking up the fiddle, driving home, taking the violin out of the case, and sort of copying photographs of what I'd seen violinists look like when they had the fiddle in their hand. And I sort of like claw hammered, like just grabbed onto the bow and, played 2 A's and 2 E's. And I got really excited because I realized, I was like, oh my God, this is the first 4 notes of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And then I got immediately frustrated that I couldn't figure out how to get the next notes happening. So so that's what got me started, and that's what got me hooked. So I fell in love with the violin right away. I think I was always a very shy kid, and whenever I had the violin in my hand, I felt like myself. I felt alive. I felt just excited to be making music and to be just playing melodies and playing with other people in musical context. It's really exciting. So my parents both being music historians and having a pretty good sense of different styles of music out there, they got us started relatively early on other styles of music as well. So I started taking Baroque violin lessons when I was about 8, and jazz violin lessons as well around that same time. Because there were professors who were at the university teaching those styles of music, and they were good friends with my parents. So it was a really beautiful situation to be in.
Yeah.
And as a kid, you don't really think about the stylistic differences. You only see the similarities, and it was all fun, a joyous experience. So I was loving all of it. But as I got older, the Baroque music kind of fell a little bit more to the wayside. And, I was focusing primarily on classical and jazz all the way up through my undergrad. So I got my undergrad degrees at IU, one in jazz performance and one in classical violin. And I was doing a lot of jazz performance. I was doing different recordings and collaborations and concerts. And then with classical, I was doing a lot of competitions. Just sort of that course that you take when you're doing if you're pursuing more of a soloist's career. And I was loving learning the repertoire, and I was loving the people I was having a chance to collaborate with, but I wasn't loving the competition mentality and sort of the toxicity that can sometimes come with that culture. And it pretty much wore me out. I did it until I think I was maybe 22, 23. And then I was like, I think I'm done. And the music was starting to lose its magic because of that toxicity, and I didn't want that to happen. So I was feeling, again, more in line with the creative opportunities that were coming from the jazz collaborations I was doing. So I made that decision. Basically, I did an artist degree as well. I just took a 2-year performance degree after I finished my undergrads. And I had a couple of years just to kind of take a breath, take some time off from school. And during that time, I really sort of sat down, kind of came to terms with things. I was like, all right, what do I want? And where do I want to be to pursue these dreams? And it was pretty much New York and pursuing my passion for jazz music. So I moved to New York in 2004, and I've been here ever since. Haven't left. So yeah, and I was I moved with the idea of doing both a master's degree and then also just to see what would happen after that. And I kind of was giving myself a 5-year window. So 2 years for the degree and then another 3 afterwards to see if I could make a go of it. And so yeah, I haven't left. It's been almost 20 years at this point. So.
Right. Yeah. And you've played with so many people, right? And with big bands and orchestras and like the jazz people on the planet, right?
We're very lucky.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I'd love to hear a little bit about because you do your own projects too, right? You publish albums. And I'd love to hear a little bit about your creative process and how you approach writing or composing.
Yeah, it's funny. So much of the last 18 years, I guess, has been spent learning about myself through collaborations that are typically led by other people. So I guess you can kind of put that under the umbrella of being a sideman. But it's music that has been so influential in me finding my own voice and exploring the music that really just gives me goosebumps to hear it and to play it and experience it. So I think all of those experiences have certainly fed into how I play, how I write, how I arrange, so that I know you'd mentioned that it'd been almost a decade since you'd released your last album, and yeah, I'm up there with you. The last album I released under my own name was in 2006, and then I released an album this March. So
Yes.
do the math, it's a long time. 2023.
Yeah, I think we launched on the same day
We
because
did. We had our same release date.
they say it needs to be Friday. That's what they say. It needs to be Friday. So a lot of our friends, everybody put it out on March 3rd.
March 3rd was the date. Like, I think it was you and me and Ludovica Bertone. Like, it was just like all these wonderful, awesome people. We were like all celebrating. Like, yeah. So it's, I think as far as the process goes, I don't know, given how much of a time frame there was between these album releases, I don't know if I would necessarily have a strategy, but I think I'm very much, I take every gig and every collaboration. There's something that is in, well, the whole thing is going to be meaningful, of course, I think, but there are lessons learned and takeaways that you get from those experiences, and they then feed into how I improvise in those moments, how I will craft and create the melodies that I
Right.
So I think, at least with this album, it was something that is the result, I think, of these past 17 years. Just, because I look at the album that I released right before I moved here. Actually, I guess it came out, I recorded it before I moved to New York. And I listened to it, and I can hear myself in it, but it's a very young Sara. It's a very, it's the Sara before she had New York to live, and
right.
And so to put sort of like listen side by side, it's just it's pretty interesting to sort of see what qualities are still there, but how they've changed and morphed, and so. Yeah, but what I do know, as far as the process goes, and sort of where I feel like I thrive the most is it's through collaborations with other people. I'm not one who's solitary in this craft. I mean, of course, it comes through in performance, but I think it also comes through in the creative, like behind the scenes aspect of it too. Is that I love the communication and the collaboration that comes along with these projects. And the project that I have now, it's with a trio of musicians I've worked with. I think we realized that I've known them for about 17 years at this point. So I met them relatively soon after I moved to New York. It's bassist Spike Sturm, guitarist Jesse Lewis, and drummer Jared Schoenig. And yeah, this album wouldn't be possible without them, because we all worked together over the course of our time together to explore and experiment and create these songs to fit our sound. And that's it's such an exhilarating experience. And yeah, I'm very grateful for these different opportunities that have come along, where I can just experience what people are doing and what they're creating, and I feel very honored that they would ask me to be part of those things. I take those invitations to heart, and I want to make sure that I'm doing right by those folk through their music and through their person.
Yeah, amazing. And if you're writing, do you sit down, or do these melodies just pop into your head, or do you take patterns, or how does this?
Yeah, I'm a very melodically driven person, so I think when writing those melodies, it's very rare when melodies come with me sitting down and like saying, okay, I'm gonna write for 15 minutes. Those situations don't usually happen for me. I think the stress of a blank page is not something I deal with quite as well. So usually the melodies that end up turning into songs, like the phrases that I'm singing and things. Those are coming through the everyday. Like if I'm, walking around doing errands, or if I'm listening to some music and just getting inspired by what I'm hearing, it's usually something will pop into my head, and those are the situations when I'm saying, "Oh, I got to write that down," and just making note of it. And sometimes it'll be a situation where more will immediately start to flow. And other times it's just like, well, it's just this one idea. I have it, and I'm going to revisit it later. But I have a whole scrapbook. Like they're all scraps of paper with these little phrases and half-baked tunes that, even if I'm not ready to have it come out now, I have it for whenever I'm ready and whenever the melody is ready to come out. So, but yeah, I don't do as much composing as I would like. I think during COVID, I certainly had a chance to do more of it, as we all had more time to kill. So I was definitely doing more writing then. But still, it's something that it's like just any kind of discipline, any kind of skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and the less intimidating it can be. So trying to sort of embrace that and make it more of a routine.
Yeah. What's a valuable lesson that you got through life or in music?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. Oh, I mean, wow. Well, I think I've noticed that maybe I'll probably share a few things. I don't know if I can figure, like I can tag one as the item, but I think when you come to the music with a humble attitude and just being grateful to be in those circumstances with those people, and to be able to do this incredible have this incredible experience of making music with each other, and to be responding to each other's emotions and energy in such a unique, beautiful way. I don't ever take those situations for granted, and the situations that have been the most magical and the most memorable for me have been those where the people who are in those bands they're the last people who want to have the spotlight put on them for their skill or their talent. They're just their egos are, they're humble, they're kind, and it reflects in their music. And so I've certainly, whenever I'm going into musical situations, I try to approach, well, and with my interactions with people every day too, I approach each situation in a mindful way, and sort of embrace the beauty of those interactions, because I think it only brings positive things to the music, and those have been the most magical, where we're all mindful, we're all present, and we're all in it together, and there's a vulnerability, I think, that comes along with the musical experience if you allow it to be there. And I think sometimes we are so, I don't know, for any number of reasons, and I completely understand, I think we can put shields up around ourselves and around our creative flow. And we can still do our thing and we can still make music, but it doesn't have that same magic. So whenever I can just let go of expectations and just really enjoy the magic of the moment, then that's where I really, those are those moments that I live for. And so that's what I try to remind myself every time I go on the stage, is that this is a unique, beautiful situation, and let's just make the most of it.
Yeah. Oh, I really appreciate that. That's beautiful. Who are your biggest influences? Because there's, you know, being a violin in the jazz world, there's not a lot of big examples, are there?
Well, there's certainly quite a few, and a growing circle of, of improvising string players. So it's what I love about it in a way right now is that it's, I mean, it's a small enough circle that we all basically kind of know each other.
Right.
But it's also really inspiring to see how excited so many of these young people are getting about improvising and essentially kind of looking beyond what violinists typically associate with, you know, Western European classical music. And you know, they're all trying to venture out and find their voice. And I, you know, if it ends up being in the jazz arena, fantastic. Like, welcome, we'll welcome you open arms, you know. But yeah, I mean, I've had so many influential figures in my life, and I think certainly there are always those musical icons, you know, because I've never met, but their influence has been experienced through the music I've transcribed and listened to, and all of that. But of course, there's also a tier of a collection of people who I've had the opportunity to either learn from in a pedagogical situation or to learn from in a musical context, like on stage. I think as far as my teachers, like influential teachers, have gone, I think in the classical arena, Joseph Gingold was probably one of my biggest influences. He was just a phenomenal classical violinist who taught at Indiana University for 30, 40 years. And was it was him and Dorothy DeLay who taught at Juilliard. He taught at IU, Dorothy DeLay was at Juilliard. And if you were in classical music and you were wanting to be a soloist, you saw one of those two people. So I was very, very lucky to have worked with him, and the heart and the soul that he would bring to his music was just an incredible experience. As far as my jazz mentors went, my first teacher, and probably the most influential, was David Baker. He taught at IU from 1966 until, say, he retired, let's say maybe around 2000. My dates are going to be off, but around 2010-ish. He passed away a few years ago. But he got me started and was my guide when I was a kid, essentially until, you know, he passed away, and was just such a huge figure in just sort of opening the world of jazz up to me and showing me what the violin was capable of doing. And you know, I'm so grateful to him for that, because obviously it's changed my life. You know, it's gotten me where into the environment that I'm in now. My mom also is a really influential teacher for me. She practiced with me every day, went to all of my lessons, took notes, and really sort of helped establish helped me establish a discipline for practice and follow through and continuity. And she was just such an amazing teacher, and to have that guidance from her was something that just I feel so lucky to have had. It certainly guided it's still part of my own personal practice, my own pedagogy, but it's also, you know, it comes through in the way I approach teaching my students, and sort of being there for support and guidance, and really doing what I can to help them find their musical voice. So that's very influential. Yeah, I mean, as far as other influences, you know, I would say for sure, like Regina Carter is a dear friend and someone I've looked up to for forever. I mean, I think she's just, I love that woman. And she's just such a kind and gracious person. You know, it's, just a beautiful soul. I think Esperanza Spalding, a person I worked with from 2000, I toured her Chamber Music Society project. So I toured with her from 2010 through 2012, just a couple years. But I saw the world with her, and it was, I think, 7 or 8 of us in that ensemble. And we became a family during those 2 years together. And to experience the world, Esperanza's music, just the daily living, was just a really influential part of my life. And her music and her way of walking the world have absolutely influenced my life as well. So. Yeah, I have so many names. I don't want to, like, eat up all of our time together. But yeah, I'm very grateful for all the different people who I've been so fortunate to meet. Yeah, I can trace so many things to these different people in the way I handle and approach what I do. And it's a gift that I'm from them that I'm very grateful.
What advice would you give young musicians who are just starting out their musical journey?
Yeah, it's kind of a simplistic thing to say, but I think it really, for me, has had a huge impact, which is the idea of following your gut. And even if people say you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that, or violinists don't do this or whatever, it's the idea, like, if it feels like this is right, like this circumstance, this collaboration, this move, it feels like it's the right thing to do it, pursue it, and don't worry so much about what other people are saying or what kind of parameters they're putting on you. It's not their life, it's yours. And it's your music, it's your craft, and if it feels like it's the right situation, go for it. So I think your gut can be a pretty good guide if you allow it to have its say. So so many of the people, my moving to New York, I was terrified of moving to the city because I grew up in the Midwest. It's like small, Midwestern town, college town. No one locks their doors. It's just like, everyone knows everybody else, for better or for worse. So it's like the idea of New York in so many ways terrified a shy kid, but it also, I was like, I need to go there because that's where the music is. And if I don't go there, I'm going to regret it. And I don't want to have that hanging over my head for the rest of my life. So, and boy, am I glad I did that. But it certainly wasn't in my nature. I think there were people who are concerned about it. Like, is she going to survive? But, my gut was telling me, it's like, no, you have to go. And, I haven't left yet. And so many of the people that I've worked with and our opportunities that have come along, it's like, my gut tells me, yeah, go for it. This would be really, really cool. So yeah, I think, yeah, if I would have followed what some people were saying I should or shouldn't do, I think there were a lot of people, I think, especially when I was younger, from the outside, when I was doing more classical and jazz, like more of a split. There were a lot of folk who were like, oh, they didn't understand what jazz was about and the art that was involved with it. They were ignorant to the music, and they only knew a certain style, which was classical, and they were very much like, well, this is what you should be doing. Why are you wasting your time doing, this style of music, sort of looking down on it and being very dismissive. And I always hated it when people would say that, but I got that from a lot of places. If I was doing a competition or whatever else, or they would read my bio, or it's just like, well, you should just focus 100% of your time on this. It's like, yeah, it's not me. Like, I need to. I know this music. I know that jazz music means so much to me. If I don't pursue that, then I'm not going to be true to who I am. I'm the one who has to live with myself. So, so I better do right by my gut. So yeah, that's what I would advise students. And I think, I'm sure you would say the same thing. With the students we meet with every week, we see them being pulled in so many different directions, and being, and that's certainly those different experiences are going to influence who they are. But I think it's making sure that no matter what things they're being exposed to in different directions they're being pulled, like that they're being pulled in a direction where they want to go, or that they're pursuing opportunities that they want to pursue. So just helping them find that ability to look inward and trust themselves.
Yeah. So can you share a significant moment when your music had a profound impact on somebody's life?
Oh.
Or why do you make music, right?
Oh, well, it's funny because it's funny you should ask that question, because I just got back from doing a run of 3 shows with my quartet, and I live for those moments where I feel like it's not just us, like the guys on the stage doing our thing and like having a good time up there. It's like when you feel the audience with you, that they're part of the experience, and that we're all kind of unified in that way. It's such an incredible high that it's what I live for. It's that magic in the moment, and you feel everybody's energy sort of unified in that way, where we're all connecting in an emotional, creative way. And yeah, it's an honest reaction. Like that's what it feels like. It's like we're all sort of making ourselves open to those moments, and it's one of those things where that's an experience that no words can replicate. No,
right.
You can't duplicate that situation. It's there if you allow it to be. You open yourself up to it. And there were a couple of moments when, like with the last concert we did in Portland, Maine, it was a really great audience. They were just totally there with us, and we all felt their energy, and like those pin drop moments, like finishing a song and just sort of feeling everybody sort of exhale, like those kinds of things. It's really incredible experience, because we're all exhaling together, and it's and having a chance to talk with people afterwards, and even if we can't necessarily communicate what it meant to us, like we understand. It's like there's a visual communication, or like a hand squeeze or a hug or something, like where it's just like we all were in that experience together, and it's a beautiful thing. So those are those kind of moments which, when they happen, it's a thrill. So I hope it means as much to them as it does to us. It's what we all live for. All the work that you put into putting a tour together, all the not glamorous, busy work that has to be done, making flight reservations and hotels and all that kind of stuff. It's not the most enjoyable part of the business, but when you get up on stage and have those moments come along, it's worth every second and every bit of work. So.
Yeah, beautiful. Then that the music works, right? That's when you do it well. My project obviously is about all these women, and I'd love to know, have you faced any stereotypes or biases being a female musician, and how do you challenge them or overcome them?
Yeah, no, I think it's a field that's obviously still very much dominated by men, and I think overall I've been fairly lucky that I haven't experienced anything too traumatic or dramatic. But certainly I've gotten vibes from people, and I've heard comments afterwards or something like that about just how someone tends to view what I do as a woman, and as a violinist too. I mean, there's opinions about my instrument in the craft, and it's frustrating, of course, on those levels. But I think what I've tended to do is I surround myself with people who respect me as a musician and me as a, and they value what I bring to the music as a human being, as a woman, as a violinist. They embrace that wholeheartedly, and they see me for me. I could try to change someone's opinion. I could try to, if I'm around someone who's not that way. And certainly, if I don't have a choice, if I have to be collaborating with those people, I do the best that I can just to put my best foot forward and hopefully change their opinion through my playing and through my attitude. But my goal can't be to change them. It can't be. It's because their opinions are likely things that have been held for a very long time. What I do have control over is who I surround myself by. When I'm working with folk and when I'm hiring people for gigs, and I have hopefully some impact on the younger generations too, like how to teach them how to look at someone for who they are wholly and to embrace that and celebrate the individuality of it all, and just the men, women, like however you identify, we all have something to offer, and to embrace it and celebrate it. So doing the best that I can through example, to pass that on to the younger generation.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so tell me a little about your education work. You work at Berklee, and you're also involved with the Gender Justice Institute.
I'm actually not. No. I mean, I've worked with Terry Lynn and Linda and folks in that who have been so influential in that program taking flight. No, most of the teaching that I do at Berklee is through the strings department. So I teach 2 days there, usually Mondays and Tuesdays. I have a student at MSM, Manhattan School of Music, one at NYU, and then I usually have a student at New School every couple of years. So most of my teaching time is spent up in Boston, and the strings department is fantastic. It's one of the smaller departments in the school, but even by small, it's still I think there are 25 of us. So it's not, it's small compared with other departments. But what's great, as I was mentioning before, the string world, improvising string world, is we've been around, we know each other, or we're at 1 degree of separation, pretty much. And so I've known many of the faculty members for long beyond, I've been at Berklee for 7 years. I've known members of the faculty for 25, So it's a really wonderful gathering of teachers and performers. And what I love about the string department too is that everyone specializes in something unique. For me, I'm doing more jazz improvisation with a bebop sort of spin to it. Jason Anik is a fantastic jazz violinist as well, but he's really well versed in the gypsy jazz style of jazz. He also can teach anything, but that's kind of his specialty. Bruce Molsky is this amazing old time fiddler, sort of specializing in the Appalachian fiddling culture. Chelsea Green is just this fantastic violinist who sort of brings jazz and soul together in just in a beautiful way. We've got Irish fiddlers on faculty. We have we have some banjo players and some mandolin players, and they're all just doing brilliant stuff. And it's the encouragement is the students, of course, will have, hopefully, or maybe they don't have to, obviously, but certain students will have an idea of where they want to go, which teachers they want to study with based on style. But a lot of students will come in sort of I'm new to improvising, or I'm new to music that's not Western European classical. So I'd love to just take lessons from a lot of different teachers and just to see where I want to go, where I want to go with my music. And so, yes, I usually will only teach a student for like maybe 2 semesters at most. And then we encourage them to go work with another teacher, either in a similar tradition. Like if they work with me for a semester, I'll encourage them to go study with either Rob Thomas, who's a great jazz violinist, or Jason, with the gypsy jazz material, and just to get a different perspective on it. And it really helps them to explore music, pedagogy, just a lot of different things. Yeah. So I was going to say I love the fact that as a department we're so supportive of each other, because I think that is witnessed by the students. They see that that sort of embracing of diversity, and I think they walk out of their time realizing that there's just so much music in the world, and like the sooner you embrace and celebrate that, the more enjoyable life is going to be to live.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really enjoy my time at Berklee. It's all these students are so inspired, and they collaborate with each other. It's like one big bubble that we're in, and you hope they are together going to change the world, right? And to
I think
just
my favorite
add a little bit to that.
I think my favorite days in the year, academic year, are jury days, which probably is not their favorite day, but it's the end of the semester. Each semester, during finals week, the students are basically, depending on what degree they're doing this, either, as you know, either a 15-minute or a 30-minute exam. And essentially it's just sort of like a summary, an audible summary, like in musical form, of what they've been doing. So scales and exercises, and and then of course repertoire. And the repertoire part is pretty great, because that's when they're really sort of showcasing things that they've been working on, or that they've been composing. And there have been so many, I've lost track of like these goosebump moments where I feel like I should be paying them like, $50 as like a ticket to have experienced what I just heard. Like, it's just unbelievable artistry. And they're not even aware of it. I think they're just sort of like, they're doing what they love, and it's just incredible music. So just to see that it's, as you said, it's really inspiring. And I'm so excited for what music is going to be coming out of them, and what they're going to be creating over the course of their lifetime. It's really
totally. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more. You're touring now with your new album, and I'm sure there's more coming up. What's
So the album came out as same day as yours, on March 3rd this year. So we've been doing concerts primarily within the region, New England, and we're going to be doing some shows in the Midwest in October, which I'm super excited about. And then just making some plans for potential tours down the Southeast, and hopefully in the West Coast as well down the road. Other projects. One of my dear friends and a fellow I've collaborated with a number of times over the years is Chuck Owen, great composer and arranger. And so I'm part of his Jazz Surge project, which is a big band based in Tampa, well, I should say Central Florida, Tampa and Orlando, where most of the members of the band are from. So that band has been together for 25 years. I think they've gotten like 5 or 6 Grammy nominations, and I actually got a nomination on one of the projects that I was doing with him back in 2017. But he did a collaboration it was during COVID, actually. Well, no, we did the first installment of it right before COVID in July of 2019. And then the band finished the other half of the material during the pandemic. But that came out a couple weeks ago. So it's Chuck Owen with the WDR Big Band, and I'm part of that recording. So So that's pretty fun. It's something we can't obviously tour at this point. Just the expense of a tour, a big band on tour is not the easiest thing to coordinate, but it's really beautiful music. Yeah, there are a lot of recordings that I've been part of over the last couple of years that are, some are being released now. There's some that are going to be coming out next year. So yeah, as much as I love being a leader, I'm never going to not be a sideman. I always have to have a balance between the two, because I love the collaborative process so much, and I've gained so much from my friends and colleagues, and yeah, I love that part of it. So I'm always going to have that kind of split life, but I love it. So most of my time this fall is going to be on the road with other people's groups. So I've got my like 5 or 6 days with the guys, and then I've got some other tours happening. One with Oscar Peñas, great guitar player. Another with Chuck Owen. He's got like a smaller group of his jazz surge, the big band is called Resurgence, with Kate McGarry and some really fantastic musicians. So we'll be touring that for a bit. Yeah, so it's a lot of time on the road, but I love travel. I love the traveling, and I'm just really excited. The idea of we can actually tour again. I mean, I think this year has really felt like the first sort of like, okay, we've made it through an insane 3 years.
Yeah.
But that's another thing too. Is I think that experience for all of us has put us in a place where we don't take live performance for granted, because we went without it for so long. It's like having the air sucked out of the room. I'm glad to be in the same space with audiences and musicians and everything. It's a good feeling for sure.
Weren't you big on baking, by the way?
Maybe.
Maybe. Was there I wasn't there. There was the series, right? Sunday
stress baking. Yeah. I
really enjoyed seeing all these pictures. And yes, that was really nice.
Oh, well, I didn't do anything with chocolate. I leave that to your husband. That's like, he's the expert in that department. No, I did Sunday stress baking. It started in like mid or late March of 2020. I just did I baked something on a Sunday, and feedback I got just on that one post, I was like, well, I need something to do. Might as well make this a series of sorts. So every Sunday for, I think, was it 69 weeks straight? I baked something. They were mostly New York Times recipes, and I mean, honestly, I wasn't really a baker. I wouldn't really even still, like, I don't call myself a baker, but I was good at following recipes. So but it was funny. I mean, like, we all found different ways of connecting during COVID, since we couldn't just do it through our music, and I think all of us just needed some way to feel connected to our community in whatever ways that might be. And so baking was one way. It was just a fun thing to do here, and that I could share with friends. I think pottery was another thing that I got into as well. I'd always wanted to take pottery class and never had the opportunity to do it. And once there was a pottery shop over in Bed-Stuy that opened, like they had been closed, of course, like every other business for a while. But as soon as they opened up and started doing socially distanced classes again, it's like, all right, sign me up. And so I did pottery for like almost a year. And so it was a different avenues of creativity, but they were very much in alignment with my personality. So it was a fun adventure.
So nice. Yeah. I mean, we discovered a bunch of hobbies. I got into fabrics. I mean, I always loved making clothing and stuff. And then at some point, my mom is like, because we were in the Netherlands for that year. And then, there's this guy that has a bunch of sheep, and they cannot get rid of the wool. So we just stuffed the back of the car full of how would we know, right? It was still dirty, so we spent months washing it, combing it, just with the, but it took it was an experience, really, with the intention to finally, make pillows and make like some weaving. But yeah, there's still a bunch in the Netherlands. I haven't gotten. I mean, it's clean now. At least it's clean, and it's in the sheds. And but yeah, that was a new hobby that
supply
we.
of yarn. Oh.
Yes, at some point we have to deal with it, but no, it's just there. It's fine. I found a loom, a 200-year-old loom around a corner. There's a lot of old stuff in the Netherlands. So this girl was like, it's too much space. It's one of these massive ones. And I'm like, okay, we'll pick it up. And I put it in the bedroom, and it really filled up the whole bedroom then. And but it's one of these historic ones. And so that was the intention.
And is it functioning? Like it's a workable.
It is. Yeah, I mean, you could do it. It's just a lot of work. You spend a few days getting it ready, right? Putting all the ropes on it and making it. Yeah, I mean that.
My mom has a loom, and I mean it's been in storage for for as long as I can remember. But she had a loom, and and I. As a little kid, I have a memory of like seeing sort of preparation with all of the strands,
and the pedals.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's fun. One of our best friends is really big into that, so she's like, oh my god, that's so cool, and I'm gonna
it's not something New Yorkers can necessarily do.
No
room.
No room. Weird hobbies. COVID hobby. And we got a COVID hamster that I figured it would last 2 years, like the hamster would do. But actually, this hamster was a trooper. He survived. So I had 3.5 years.
Wow,
he just passed away a couple of weeks ago. We had to leave, and we couldn't smuggle him back to New York in the air. I mean, that would have been weird. But so we left him with my parents, and he was a trooper.
Wow. Yeah, we considered it. This is more going in the road. It's like, oh, should we get a pet? And it's like, oh, I mean, I think we were kind of
a lot of people did.
Well, eventually, once touring resumes and traveling resumes, like we can't do this. But there is first with that temptation. It was just like, oh, maybe.
No, same here. Yeah, we figured the COVID hamster was the best solution for the time being. If they don't last. No. Their estimate is 2 years. Though this beastie was fierce.
Oh.
Yeah, he doubled his lifespan beyond what we. Great. Last question: how do you navigate the balance between your artistic vision and meeting commercial expectations? How do you balance in general, life and music, or like the business part you think you have to do?
I suppose like with any project we do, whether it's our own or somebody else's, like trying to let go of the perfectionist, the inner perfectionist. That's the thing I battle with all the time. It's like, oh, I can make it better, and it's like sometimes you have to just sort of realize, no, this is what it's going to be, and could it be improved? Maybe not. You don't know. I mean, at some point you have to say, this is good enough for, this is as well a job as I can do it right now.
Right.
And whether that's that sort of final, the finality of it is your own doing, or if it's done by a deadline. I think it's important to realize that you can't pursue perfection. It's just not realistic,
Right.
And even if it's perfect to you, it might be flawed to somebody else. So I think it's the idea, you have to be okay with it. And certainly I'm sure with albums, like creating albums, are there things that I might, if I had an extra day to fix this or fix that, it's like maybe, but I think what I kind of enjoy in a way about the recording process and performance, just musical performance, is the idea perfection isn't the goal either. It's it's the human experience, and we're
Right.
flawed.
If
Like,
it's
you
real.
know, it's real. Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you want to have that human element in the product, whether it's
Mhm.
the audible product or performance. It's like we're going to make mistakes. It's okay. Like, it's part of the human experience. So allow that to be part of the beauty of
Yeah.
what, you know, what you're creating and producing. So, you know, certainly with gigs, with projects, I'm going to do the best I can, and you know, I'll prepare as far in advance as it makes sense to you. And you know, so when it comes time for those deadlines to pass, it's like, I know I did the best I could, but you know, just realizing that it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be human.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. I had a great time talking to you. It's been such a pleasure
likewise.
knowing you and getting to know you more and presenting you to whoever is going to listen. And they can follow you, obviously, on your website. And that's Sara Caswell. I'll put it in the description, and obviously on your Instagram. They should all check out your new album.
Yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram and Facebook. I have a Twitter account, though I'm very rarely on it. So yeah, if people are interested in reaching out, yeah, via the website or those two social media platforms, it's great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And
thank you. It's wonderful talking with you, and
yeah.
Congrats again on your beautiful album. It's just
you.
fantastic, and I'm so excited for you. It's great.
As I conclude this episode of ViviTalks, I want to express my sincere gratitude for joining me in this musical journey. I hope you enjoyed exploring the stories and experiences of the incredible female musicians on my album. To stay updated on our latest episodes, subscribe to ViviTalks on your favorite podcast platform. Connect with me on social media through Vivienne, and please check out my album Type of Thing, a musical exchange featuring 100 female musicians to empower female cacao farmers of Virunga State Park in Congo. It's about more than just music. It's about making a positive impact in the world. Your support is part of that journey, so thank you once again for tuning in. Until next time, keep celebrating the power of music, and let's continue to amplify the voices of remarkable women in the industry. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep the music flowing. With love and gratitude. Till soon.